children because they don't believe in contraceptives and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the correlation there, but not necessarily because of the religion, I guess. But like with the number of siblings, there was the aspect of the older siblings playing the parental role, and if the younger ones would go to them if they had questions, or go to the parents still, that sort of thing. And then it was kind of a mixed thing. It depends on the younger sibling. Like all my friends that I interviewed were male, and then so they said their younger male siblings would come to them probably before they would go to their mom, let's say, because the moms were actually usually the gatherer of information or the keeper of information. So they would go to the older male siblings before they would go to the mom.
Okay.
But then they still thought that the younger girls would go to the mom first, or the parents. But besides just the prayer, but the older siblings, the sibling dynamic, besides that, it wasn't too much, except they didn't really they understood how genetics play a role, but they didn't seem likely to seek out genetic information or to get tested and that sort of thing, because they kind of were in the mentality of the God's plan sort of thing. Okay. Whatever will be, and like while we can focus on today and like eating healthy, being healthy, that sort of thing, and knowing that like your grandfather had this on this side, and they don't see necessarily the need to go and get sequenced and that sort of thing.
Right. I know you said your great aunt on your mom's side is the one that had the most information, because she's older. Like, what information does she have that like your other family members didn't have?
Like I said, the interview kind of broke down before I could get that information, but it was just kind of the feeling I got and kind of the direction I was pointed from my other family members when they said that, hey, if you're doing this, you might as well go interview her because she is the oldest and then she's had the most experience. So I don't think it was necessarily that they knew or that she advertised, I guess, that she had, like she knew a bunch of this health information. It was just kind of the natural conclusion when she's the oldest and she's been around the longest and she's interacted with all the family members alive and dead. So it wasn't so much that we knew for sure she had a bunch of information. It was just, I think she did. But she, like I said, didn't really pan out.
Okay. In what ways might you use information you learned in your interviews to manage your health in the future?
Learn from my interviews? Probably, especially looking at the interviews with my parents and then kind of reflecting on my childhood as a whole and how I was raised. I don't really have any big qualms with it, but I definitely would be more open at a younger age because my parents, like I said, they are just now kind of seeing me as an adult and somebody they can speak to it as an adult. And while there are some things that younger children should not be exposed to, at the same time, I think I would be a little bit more open with my child, especially, or at least the impression of openness, I guess. Like, not necessarily telling them everything, but making sure that they know that if they have questions, come ask. Mm-hmm. Because I never gave it too much thought, but they never prompted it, and then growing up, I was too focused on whatever sports, school, that sort of thing, and never really, with them leaving it up to me to initiate, and then my lack of willingness or understanding to initiate, it just kind of, nothing happened. So I guess looking at my interviews with my parents and then applying that to maybe my future children would be more open or at a younger age because they're fine with me now. But
right. Yeah. Do you have anything like genetically that you found out about yourself that you would like change your lifestyle in any way or anything like that?
Nothing that I don't think I already knew. I learned more about it and kind of more extensive, but the big things, like I said, my grandfather and my dad said was alcoholic, so my dad has always been kind of worried. And then that grandfather had like 7 siblings, I believe, and most of that side of the family are unsavory, as I think my dad put it, to keep it kind of civil. But they all have not dabbled, but have extensively drank, and some have done drugs, some have gone to jail, some are actually murderers. But and my dad and my uncle, my dad's brother, actually were kind of the two that broke away from that, which I think was a big part to play with my grandmother. She was a good influence on them. But as far as alcoholism goes, it was like I always knew that was kind of a thing, but he just didn't mention it. So he just talked a little bit more about his grandfather, but also just the breadth of the family, like how much it's extended. And then, like I said, I knew about that, so I've always kind of been careful around alcohol, and I know its effects. I know that it's bad for you, obviously, but at the same time, I'm not scared of it. So, I mean, that's kind of what my dad taught me. He was like, obviously, I don't want you to go heavily drinking every day or whatever and becoming an alcoholic, but at the same time, it's not something to be afraid of.
Right.
As far as other things, cancer has popped up in my family, but not consistent enough that I think there's something I could change. I mean, I might be, because it hasn't been, like, my grandmother had lung cancer, but she also smoked her entire life, so it wasn't so much just being susceptible. And then my grandfather now has prostate cancer that he's in remission from. And then I had an aunt that had liver cancer. So cancer is a thing, but it's not necessarily consistent, I guess. So there isn't, beside, and then, so I guess liver cancer on my mom's side with the alcoholism on my dad's side, the only lifestyle habit that would change now would be to kind of limit my drinking compared to what it might turn into. And then, I've already kind of been wary of my health and my eating habits, especially related to my heart, because, when I was still in high school, my dad got diagnosed with AFib. Mm-hmm. And then when the dentist started taking my blood pressure on the go, my heart rate was actually really low, so they worried about that. So I actually have gotten an ultrasound and tested to make sure nothing was wrong there. Nothing was wrong, it was just a slow heart. And then my mom has, I forget the term for it, but she has a hole in one of her valves or something like that. So she has that, so, and I don't. I've gotten, like I said, I got the ultrasound, so they don't think I have that. But heart-wise, I definitely have been told to make sure I eat right, work out, stay healthy, and I mean, especially coming to college, I definitely started, I eat junk food all the time, I drink soda, but it's kind of always in the back of my mind, so I think I could have been a lot worse, but because of the heart health in general, especially, I've kind of restrained myself more than what I think I would have otherwise.
Okay. How do you feel now after doing your interviews about engaging in future conversations about family health history? I guess you kind of talked about that with your family, but I guess just...
Yeah, I mean, my friends, obviously, I don't know, I was with my sister, I think it's age as well, which in part has to do with being seen as an adult and is an equal, I guess. So my sisters and my friends were all very receptive. With the family members that I interviewed, I think that served as a good icebreaker. So in the future, if I ever have questions for them specifically, it will be much, much easier. But if I were to expand and go to other family members, I think I would kind of have to start at square one. Like some family members, of course, would be more open than others, and some would have more information that they would have to give. But with the ones that I interviewed especially, I think it'll be very, very open. But then the others will be, like I said, starting at square one. I don't think my reputation as the health information collector is going to spread like that.
Okay. Okay, so what other tools might you need to keep engaging in conversation about family health history with your family?
Tools?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
Like, do you think there's anything else that you could have, utilized to, make the conversations more interesting or, keep them, I guess, your aunt, the great aunt, was there anything else you could have done or used to make sure more,
With my great aunt, I don't think that there was really anything that could have been done because, like I said, she's at the age where she doesn't really care. She's not that she doesn't care to live anymore, but she doesn't care about other people's opinions. If she wants to watch TV, she's going to watch TV. If she wants to do an interview, she'll do it. If she doesn't, she doesn't. And then, so it was just kind of, I think it was just almost random. Just if I had gone any day, it's a certain probability that she would have been in a good mood to receive it. And then I just happened to come on a day where she wanted to watch Bob Barker. So, as far as my other family members, like I said, my friends were done in person because they were in town with me. My family members were all done over the phone. So I guess ideally in the future, it'll be more of a sit-down conversation. And being in person, I think would have made things a lot easier and also easier to read them and kind of, because there's a lot that is said without being said, sort of thing, the nonverbal, and that whether it be answers that they don't want to say specifically, but also kind of knowing how to proceed, because seeing somebody's face, I think you can know what avenue has a little bit more to offer, what you should stop at, that sort of thing. So I guess tools would be sitting in person and facial recognition and all that, but other than that, just if I have a question, I say specific questions are really isn't a certain tool, I guess, I would use. It just kind of, if a question pops up, I would ask it, sort of thing.
Okay. You mentioned your telephone interviews. Do you think that they kind of were more willing to answer questions because you weren't sitting in front of them, or do you think they would be more open with you if you were face to face? The presence of you, do you think that made a difference at all?
Yeah, but I also think it goes both ways. So over the phone, they might be a little bit more willing to answer because they don't have to look at me, but at the same time,